why don't we make public comments?
Yes.
First and foremost.
Dean is going to be in here.
Dean's coming. Well, they call her.
We are awaiting arrival of the clerk. It only takes 3 of us to constitute a quorum, but we have to wait till the clerk. She's probably the key pin for the court. Feel welcome to visit among yourselves. Too. She's here.
Judge, she's right there.
This is county commission for Idaho. It's like Harvard, it's the
There she is.
Morning, Dave.
Good morning. Morning,
Shut
Dean.
up, Rudy. I'm done with you. I do not. I do not. I should play that song.
Dean, tell us when you're ready and then we'll start.
Well, somebody filling out a public comment.
Okay.
All right. They had the official time.
They, somebody filling out a public comment also.
It's 10:01.
Okay. Dean, are you ready?
Two of those are good.
That's on the agenda.
Oh, it's not.
No.
I guess we don't have that. That's all right.
Ready?
Okay. Let's go ahead and call this administrative court to order. Let the record reflect that the quorum is present, and Madam Acting Clerk, has the notices been published in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act?
Yes.
And it is posted to the website, true?
Yes.
Okay, that being said, it's the practice of this court to exercise an invocation followed by a pledge of allegiance. It rotates among the commissioners. Commissioner Blacksher has been in the command seat for this month, and he's had plenty of exercise. So if there's anyone present or watching who is not comfortable with our practice and would like to step outside for a moment and rejoin us once we complete our practice, then feel welcome to do so and mute your line if you wish to. With that being said, Commissioner Blacksher has the invocation, and
Okay. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for another day of life, Lord. We thank you for another day of your tender mercies. And I pray that you just would be with us in the decisions we make. Help us to be a blessing to you and honoring to you. Help us to glorify you in everything we do. And I just thank you for loving us. And I pray that you just bless our county and just be with us as we make these decisions. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
okay, we're going to do the American flag. We've talked about the Texas, but we'll do the American flag. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right.
Thank you.
So we have our forum. I want to go ahead and acknowledge our guests that are with us this morning. Welcome. Okay, that'll take us to our public comments portion of the agenda, and I think we have some signed up.
Yeah, 3.
All right.
Guy Flip.
Let me have those if I could, and I'll go ahead and call them. Okay. First one to sign up for public comments is our treasurer, Leanne Monk. Leanne? You have let's see, Dean, if you will, go ahead and set the timer for 5 minutes on your phone. So we can- Wait a minute, it says 3. I think we have, I think it's 5. Yeah, yeah, it is 5, according to our agenda.
For how many?
Okay. Pardon?
How many minutes?
5 minutes? Mhm.
Two. Geraldine, don't miss me. Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Leanne, you may start. Thank you.
Again, working off of limited knowledge as it pertains to my particular budget, and this is what this is directed at. And as I thought about what direction I wanted to take with my 5 minutes to go this morning, and what I wanted to make sure that you all knew before I left, there are 1,000 things that come to mind, but I think I summed it all up in this. If I've learned anything over the past year, is that nobody will stand up for you, defend you, or believe in you, and I mean nobody, like your people. I've been blessed over this past 7 or so months to realize who my people are, and once you know, that I found out the real blessing is actually finding out who they are not. In fact, over the last 7 or so months, I've been lied about, talked about, painted in a not so favorable light, and I was foolish enough to think that after the election was over, all of the aforementioned things would stop as well. However, I say that those things have not only continued, but in many ways have escalated. I remember when my girls were in kindergarten, and they brought home their report cards that said, "Plays well with others." One of my girls, Allison, did not, and the other one, Mallory, did. Over the years, I've learned that most of the time you have to be a Mallory. Always find the good, always give people the benefit of the doubt, and always see the bigger picture. And some days, you have to be an Allison. Not that the baby always stayed in trouble, but she had this thing about right being right and wrong being wrong. And if she thought that someone was doing something wrong to someone, well, that's when things went downhill. There are days when you just have to stand up for yourself and those who are depending on you to stand up for them. Today, I'm thinking it's an Allison day. I've submitted for 3 years in a row a budget request for additional position in my office, which actually was mine anyway. It was supposed to be with the position of HR and payroll. First year I asked, I was shot down unmercifully. So in the second year, I asked for part-time help in the middle of COVID because there are only 2 people in my office, myself and my assistant. And believe it or not, we have to be out of the office sometimes at the same time. So I asked for $2,000 in part-time help. I was asked to justify the need. I was asked if I would be providing the court with documentation as to why we were out, each time we were out at the same time. I was told I didn't need that much and I could probably get away with $1,000 annually. And I was told that maybe I should have asked for $4,000 instead of $2,000, so that way when I got the $2,000, it would look better as though the court was saving money. I was told that I asked for a part-time employee specifically during that time to take my place during the time that I would be out for the Adjournment Festival because I was a director and I would need them to take my slack, which by the way is a lot. I have been forced to work with unrealistic limits as it pertains to my staff, which by the way is the smallest staff in the county with the smallest budget. We are now at the 3rd year for me to ask for additional staff, only to be told there'd be no way I'd be getting any additional staff to do my work when I'm not in office. Just a thought though, isn't this why we have employees to do our work? I mean, y'all have employees to take care of the roads, right? You don't do that yourself, most of you, right? And exactly when am I not here? That's right, I'm working my other 2 full-time jobs that I've been accused of having. And by the way, while you were making the assumption that I actually had 2 other full-time jobs, did it ever occur to you to fact check? Seriously, 3 full-time jobs? If you've ever driven by the courthouse after 6 p.m., you see my car is still here most of the days. And here's the point. The 3 things I've asked you all, according to what I've seen, have been denied. You have made your decisions about me, about my office, about my job performance, even without one conversation with me. You just had them about me. And here's the deal. The election's over, and I think you probably ought to get over it. We are here to do the county's business, and that's it. Not to use this as a platform for personal vendettas. We're here because the people of the county trusted us to do what the work is at hand, and not to waste the time that we've been given to be public servants. Remember, I don't work for y'all, I work for the people of Tyler County, whether you like it or not. So whether you give me the items I requested or not, or whether you speak to me ever again or not, that isn't what matters. I can waste my time trying to convince you that the things that you fail to find out for yourself about me are true, or I can just do my job. What matters here is that you know that I do fully understand the consequences for my actions. I was voted into office by all of Tyler County, despite some of your efforts against me. And the consequences of the election I just ran are obvious by both your actions in the budget and the actions that are here by the people that are supporting you.
Thank you, Leanne. Renee, I believe you're next.
Yes, okay. I had asked to talk to y'all about the old records. Well, I brought a book today, and this book starts in 1850. And as y'all will look through here, y'all will see that the pages are disintegrating from the center out. This book will not be good much more longer. In fact, I had a gentleman coming in looking at it the other day for his land, for some land that he has. And in these, they have meets and bounds, and they have, where a point, I call it a rod, a metal rod that they would mark each corners with. Well, when these pages start falling apart, those meets and bounds will disappear in these pleadings. So I wanted to show y'all one of the books that is, and I think this is one of the books that's going to be preserved, in the bid that I gave y'all. But I also asked that, and I know that we're in a pinch for funds and everything, but if I have any extra left over in my budget, that it not be put back into the general fund, but it be put over into a records management that I can work with. Maybe I can save a couple of years and get some stuff done. And if y'all have extra money, you would be able to add to that amount that is in that fund. I cannot spend that money on nothing but that. I can't, that's the only thing I can do it with. So if y'all want to look at the book and just at your leisure, but I wanted to ask that if there's extra money in my budget, to roll it over into a records management where I can either save or do a little bit each year. And if y'all have the money, y'all could add to that. Thank you.
So what does it cost to do that one book?
If I'm not mistaken, I had talked to the county clerk, and hers was $5,000 a book.
Wow.
And they are, and even at that, they're preserved in a book inside of a clear looking thing. And this thing is like sealed, and then you can pick that up and look at it and read it. But the people that preserve these books, they take them and put them back in, like if they fall apart, they fit them back together where it can be readable and the pages restored to an extent. But yeah, I'm thinking, Donnie said that it was for her, was $5,000 a book.
That it's required, right, by
That's,
law?
it's an
Unfunded mandate.
through the state. That anything from 1850 backwards, I have to keep. Anything from, it's 1950 backwards. Anything from 1950 forward, I just have to digitize, and then I can destroy those records and keep only what is considered an important issue to the county. Whatever historical value that case will have, I can keep and preserve it for, just for the county sake. But yes, and we have not, the district clerk has never really come forward with this, but I have literally run out of room. The whole third floor of this courthouse is nothing but paper that I have. And so I am looking to start getting the unfunded mandated papers taken care of first. And we are scanning in the other records as I speak. My office, whenever they're not doing that work, they're scanning in papers. We've got everything in the office and we're starting upstairs. So it's a slow process, but it is a costly process. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Renee. Mr. Gagler? And you feel welcome to speak from there
Oh,
if you
okay.
care to.
I just stand up.
Okay.
One of the things that, I'm voting is the fact that there is talk about raises for county employees. And I think that's great if you've done your job. But the problem I see is that we are $700,000 in debt. How did we get there? Are you doing your job in that way? You know, I don't think you are. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, because I don't care. I'm a taxpayer in this county, and I'm mad. I'll be honest with you. I had the county appraiser, some county appraisers come out to my property and looked at my property and actually lowered the value of my property. I was blown out of my easy chair. I was absolutely amazed. That means my taxes are gonna go down. Well, back up a second. Are you okay, Mr. Mitchell? You need to answer, or Marshall, whatever you are?
Mr. Gannett, please continue.
Okay.
We're fine.
You know, the problem I have is that you keep throwing money at people so they can have more money, you know, like you got with the ARPA funds, hey, praise the Lord, you know, but, the people of Tyler County, the taxpayers are gonna have to foot the bill. And guess what? We're mad. We're getting madder. If you can't feel the heat, there's gonna be a fire. Okay? And you laughing about it?
Yes, sir, I think it's funny.
You think it's funny? Wait till you go up for re-election and see how
I'm ready,
funny
brother.
it is. You ready?
I'm ready.
I wish the hell I was in your district.
I will.
Please,
So I
Mr.
could
Wu, please,
Huh?
let's have some decorum here, please.
No, I wasn't gonna
Okay,
I
thank
wasn't
you.
gonna say anything, but I had addressed the court for 2 minutes.
So you saw- Did you fill out a deal?
He's not.
I did not, I was not gonna say anything.
You got to say, thank you.
We do require the public comment section to be filled. All right, that'll take us through public comments. We do not have any table items. That takes us to consent. I think we do have some minutes from.
Yes, sir. I'd like a motion to receive the minutes.
Thank you, Michael. We do have a second. Comments or questions? All in favor, aye? Okay, and it's unanimous receiving the minutes into the record. That takes us to, we do not have any resolutions, proclamations, or orders that the chair is aware of, so it'll take us to our consider, approve, and informational portion. And Mike, is there anything that we need to act upon on the budget amendment?
It's these, what I gave you
Yeah.
for juvenile.
Yes, sir, I'd like to make a motion that we approve these line item transfers for the juvenile probation. Second.
Okay, there's a motion with a second. I want to add some comments. Ken came by this morning and he said that he had the final total of how much that bid was for the tile work. And he was supposed to come by and put a request for the line item transfer so that we could act upon it this morning. It's going to be several weeks before it'll happen. We might can formalize it, but he wanted y'all to be aware. It's a little bit more, I think about $500 difference, but he has the money in that line item. Did he not talk with you, Joe? No, sir. Okay. All right.
We approved it.
We did, but he wanted y'all to be aware of that modification. And so before, I mean, he knew that we were obligating ourselves, but he wanted y'all to have final information on the process. All right. Okay, with that being said, we have the one item to formally acknowledge. All in favor, aye? And any opposed? Motion carries. That'll take us to accounts payable and county bills, Mike. Anything?
Well, I made a motion, did we vote on this?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, all right. Yeah, I make a motion, we pay our county bills.
So,
Do we know, I'm sorry, what they are? Is there any?
Jackie, do you have anything?
I think it was just put on this agenda again because we're not due for
don't
actual
have it.
bill pay until.
Bills.
It is a standing item on the agenda in the event that there's a need for it. So we'll move forward. There's no action, Mike, right? Okay, so that'll take us to item C, and Commissioner Blacksher.
I move that we designate a DETCOG board member to serve the July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023 term.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion.
We
Do we have a designated?
Well, I'd like to remain on it. Y'all had appointed me to fill Buck's position and that term ended, so I'd like to be reappointed to continue in that.
I make a motion to reappoint.
All right. And also, while we're talking, that takes me out of the backup. So I don't know if we need to, do that at another time or, do it now, because we don't have a backup. It's just me on there, because it was Buck and then me as the backup. Sure. So,
I think whenever the court reorganizes in January, if y'all want to reassign those, those backup positions.
That'll work.
Otherwise, it's just an anomaly at this point.
yes, sir.
So,
You're a member, just not a voting member.
correct. We only have one voting member slot, and whenever Joe is absent, just like whenever I was representing, then he can give his proxy to another voting member. And typically, what we did was coordinate with other commissioners or judges that would carry our proxy. So that way, whenever the vote was taken, county was still represented. And so that's kind of a default type of backup, but the position recognizes the person in this particular case.
Okay.
All right, any additional comments or questions? All in favor? And do you object, Joe?
No.
Okay,
Actually,
so it was unanimous. That'll take us to item D, and Commissioner Sturt has that.
I make a recommendation, we consider the wall hangings from the Tyler County Historical Commission for the wall hangings in Congressman Bavin's office in the courthouse.
Okay.
That motion, Steve?
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
And I think there were 5 different hangings that he's wanting up, and procedure for that is they'll issue them to us or me, and then go forward into the Tyler County Historical Commission. They have a committee that looks over them, make sure they fit within the guidelines of what can be hung. They'll observe them, whatever, and they all came back as recommended from the Historical Commission that they're recommended to be hung.
Okay, very good.
Chuck, you got anything? You good? Okay.
I'd like to see a few more rooms decorated.
Thank you, Joe. All right, we've had conversation. Are you ready for the vote? All in favor, aye? Okay, and it's unanimous. That's going to take us to Roman numeral 6, and that's comments about court members pertaining to matters of county government. Anybody have anything? I do have something that I want to share with y'all. Worked on over the weekend. Lisa came home with a paper on Thursday night, and I saw the notice of the salaries. And I began to, of course, you go to your own personal one, try to see what it looks like. But there was a statement in it. It was just in the booster on page 5B. And it said, notifying citizens of the proposed annual salary increases for 2023. And honestly, as an insider, I just couldn't see where we were reflecting that. We were showing what the salaries were going to be, what the stipend salary, the longevity, the cell phones, and then the total compensation. But if you look at the proposed salary increase, if you don't, if it's not reflected, you don't know. And so I started going back through my documentation, and I know we had discussed an across the board 3,000 to all of the employees. And so as I was breaking it down to try to get an understanding, just in starting with my own personal line, even though I'm not going to be here, some things kind of stuck out. I want to share that with us because ultimately we're responsible, and obviously we've got to give some comments on it. We do have a salary and allowance schedule, and so the stipend doesn't necessarily follow the schedule by description. So as I was going through it, and it showed for like the county judge position for 2023, it shows the 52,547.02. And then it references an additional stipend of $12,406. But it references it's being a juvenile board obligation. And y'all probably don't know this, but we only meet 4 times a year. It's usually during the noon hour, and it's usually less than an hour. So $12,400, if we're telling the public that I'm getting that as my juvenile board responsibility, is really not an accurate reflection of compensation. And what concerned me was that it would possibly raise a question by the other 2 judges, which are the district judges, so that they would say, hey, county judge is getting $12,400. I think I'll request the same thing. So I think we need to clear that so that it's not an appropriate reference of the compensation. Prior to my coming into office, I think that there was like a $2,400 supplement that was provided for that particular responsibility. But in all honesty, guys, I mean, it's not like as if it's a significant amount of work. We get fed during the time that we are there. Usually we knock it out within 30 minutes and then we visit. But my point being is, it just seems like it's just a part of the job. It doesn't necessarily need compensation. Then when I saw the longevity, and I checked to see if I stay here, then obviously it would be the $3,000, and it may be an anticipated budget item, but there's no. I mean, obviously I'm not going to be here, so we could put a footnote on there and just reference that there, depending upon who assumes that, there could be a cost. So the transparency and full disclosure was the thing that kept stirring within me on this. So as I was working down through, I realized we've got district clerk, county clerk, tax assessor collector, county treasurer, and JP1 that'll actually realize a $5,000 increase to pair us to this 52,547 that is, with the exception of the sheriff, a part of all of our base salary. And so the rest are receiving a $3,000 based upon what we've proposed up to this point. And this was kind of an interesting point. We obviously saw Dean came for Don East this morning. 3 of us can constitute a quorum, but if we don't have a clerk, I mean, that's foundational to any meetings that we have. And I would just propose to y'all that maybe it's more appropriate if we're reevaluating this, that because the clerk is established as a foundational member through the constitution of the court, maybe we transfer that 12-4 that was in my slot down to her slot. And then if there's any kind of allowance up at this section here that might reflect like what we used to call the vehicle allowance, and that could just be paired with the JPs because they get a 6,600. And then I thought, wait a minute, we discussed, I thought there was a consensus that we would increase the $50 request that they were making. So if that's so, then it's not reflected. Also notice that there is a full-time position that is commingled in with an elected position with the emergency management coordinator. And if we put that down at the bottom as far as another footnote of description, by virtue of the fact that Ken was an employee as emergency management coordinator, and then he ran for JP, and he's been doing that for the last 4 years, but he was emergency management coordinator. It's actually a savings to us of about $17,700 because of the benefits. And then he also forfeits his vehicle allowance. So it seems like that after the first of the year, if the successor does not retain him, then obviously that's not going to be a reflection. And it shows, it skews his total compensation, although he is an official and he is an employee. He wears two hats. So he's getting a check from the county. So if we just referenced it so that it didn't look like that it's attached solely to his JP2 position. So those are some things that I really feel like that we probably need to repost this to be as transparent and be as reflective based upon notifying the citizens of the proposed annual salary increase. Because if you don't know this, and guys, honestly, I probably spent about 5 or so hours just trying to go through this. And it looked like that what was also on here, maybe we need to revisit it because we didn't quite capture maybe some of the adjustments in some of the other office positions. So I want to call that to your attention, let you know that just from my perspective, that might be something we just need to address as a court. All right, anything else for public comments?
I'd just like to ask, Judge, so what you're saying, if you want our next county judge to lose $12,400 that you've been receiving,
No,
is that
sir.
what you're asking, give it to the district, to the county clerk?
No, sir.
I thought that's what you were saying.
No, I'm just-
Take that $12,400 and give it to the district, or the county clerk.
Well,
That was your vehicle allowance, is what that stipend is for, is what all of ours is, it's what they're all the same amount for vehicle allowance.
okay, but it doesn't say vehicle there, it says road and bridge obligation, and then it says vehicle allowance down here. So if we clarify that, and I'm just suggesting, Mike, that I think y'all all know, the state of Texas gives all the constitutional county judges a $25,000 a year allocation from our judicial responsibilities if we have a minimum of 18% of our job. And I sign an affidavit and have every year because it used to be 40-something%. I'm just saying that if you add that to this, and if you put the same allocation for a vehicle allowance in at whatever the JPs are, whether it's 6,600 or 7,200 in that line item, then you'll wind up with the same amount of money if you have longevity added to that as what the current position pays. I'm just, and let me go into just this part. I mean, you bring up a really good point, Mike, because in the clerk's position, this is just my personal experience. Let me just, I don't have my note right here in front of me. Y'all probably aren't aware of how much work that the county clerk has to give the county judge for all of the probate, all of the criminal, all of the civil, oversees all of the guardianship, certain mental types of matters. Plus, she's now overseeing all of the agenda, which is the commissioner's court coordination, all of the oversight to make sure all of the documents are actually expedited to all of the places. So there's a tremendous amount of association with me. I'm getting a supplement. It seems like she's carrying a workload, and it's not because I'm leaving mine. It has nothing to do with that. I'm just saying, if I calculated this, then the amount will stay the same at $91,000 if the position is just adjusting. And obviously, I didn't participate in any of this conversation to get it like this. I see it, I understand it, it makes sense, but like the sheriff's, he's realizing certificate pay, I don't know if he received that last year or not into his base, but even though his adjustment was from 60,000 to 64,947, it's not quite 5,000, but I'm saying Donise is integral to the court system, and she does everything that's foundational to the judge and everything that he has to do. She's actually the court coordinator for all of the court task. And so, she began to assume these things whenever the readjustment, and it makes sense for it to be there because she's not a voting member of the court. She has enough width in her staff that they can cross-train with each other and they can always support the responsibilities of the position and the various duties as a county judge. And I know I've gone into probably more detail than you really care to know, but trying to answer that question, Mike, is just what I took from my study on this. And I hadn't had a chance to communicate this because obviously we haven't had the topic to bring it up. And it's not for a contentious purpose at all, Mike. It's just that, if we're trying to convey trust to the public, and through the years, if we, told them, hey, we've got impacts and we need raises too, and here's what we're looking at. I think Buck had made a comment, that by the time on a $2,000 raise, you wind up with $25 more a week. It's not like as if it's going to change, the cost of everything that everybody's experiencing. So just from a conversational standpoint and to convey some more activity that is associated with us, I just think that this could be something that we could redo and put it out there in a better way because of just everything I've said. All right. Anything else? With that being said, I'm not aware of anything for executive session. Is anyone? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second? And all in favor, aye? Aye. Okay. We'll stand adjourned. Thank you.